Okay, so today is May 28th, 2024. This is our OLM working group upstream meeting. I've got the agenda pulled up here. Let's see, first thing on the list, I know we talked about this last week a little bit, but I just wanted to highlight it again this week because we've got a meeting scheduled for tomorrow. But Nikolai's put together a good brief on operator conditions, or actually, I don't know who originally wrote this, Edmund. Um, but Nikolai's also joining in to help.
Yeah, I think Edmund is the author, and I'm just commenting. Don't want
Perfect.
to take his credit.
Yeah. Um, but I think so over the past week, there's been a few reviews of the doc, and I think we're all I think we need to get together and chat as a group to figure out exactly how we want to do this. Nikolai, do you want to talk? I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but I know you did some research yesterday about operator usages of this API. Is there anything worth highlighting there?
Yeah, I think I can quickly mention that I posted a similar message on Slack already. So I did. So it's really hard to understand the actual usage of this API, but I did my best by searching GitHub, and found total of 17 repos, which in some ways use the API. Some actually use them, like update conditions. Some just use the name of the operator condition to figure out a version of the operator or something like that. Some list or get the condition objects, but do not update them. But anyway, in some of the ways, there are 17 repos who use this API in total on GitHub and public repos. Two of them are in OpenShift.org. Seven of them are outside of OpenShift.org, but in some way are associated with Red Hat. And 8 repos with the usage of this API are, I believe, not related to Red Hat, but maybe some of them are. And yeah, some of them like still active. Some of them are they look like are not being actively worked on. Like some repos have last activity in the main branch or master branch in like recently, but some of them were last updated over a year ago or 5-7 months ago. So there is some usage of this API, but not a lot. And so hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to meet and discuss the next steps, whether we want to support it at all, if we want to support it at all, to what level of support we should provide in OLMv1, etc. So if someone is interested in this topic, please join us tomorrow for this dedicated conversation on this.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikolai. Any other questions?
Yeah, just a question. Where were you getting all the data from? Like the repos that build the catalogs for the cluster, or just a general search across all of GitHub?
Yeah, so we were hoping that to get some data from Red Hat catalogs, because we noticed that some of the operators in Red Hat catalogs have metadata with links to actual repositories, but I later discovered that there is inconsistency. So some of the packages in Red Hat catalogs have the metadata pointing to source code, some of them are not. So what I ended up doing, I just searched GitHub with in multiple ways. I can share the queries later, and like basically it. There are multiple types of queries. One in one query, I searched for environment name we set in OLM. So OLM injects into the deployment environment variable with the name of the operator condition for the operators to read it and act on it. So the assumption is that if operator uses it, then there will be mention in the source code of this variable name somehow, which gave me a few hits. Then I also searched for package name and operator condition in all of the repos across GitHub with few combinations. So like we have few versions of operator conditions I believe it's V1 and V2. So I searched for both, which gave me a bit more hits. So that, and I went through like through the results and made sure that I like listed all the repos which use it in my notes. I'm again happy to share the results because it's all public GitHub. And yeah, that's like there are some apart from those 17 repos I mentioned, there are some more repos, but those are like example repos, but probably example operators which read the operator conditions, but they do not like I do not worry that much about those. Yes, it's just examples.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. That might be useful information just to put in this brief. That way, it's all in one spot.
Sorry, could you repeat, please? I lost you for a second. Useful information to put into the brief?
Yeah. Just your results from like all your searching, that might be useful to put in the brief.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I will share this. No problem.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Any other questions on that topic? All right, moving on. I think that might be it. I don't see any action items from last week. I don't see any new discussion topics for today. We can do a quick look at this, but I don't think much has changed here. All of these things I think have already been in progress for a while. So unless there's any updates that anyone has on any of these, well, I guess I should ask, do we have any updates on any of the currently being implemented features?
The security upgrade safety stuff, the logic, the controller logic, and things like that have been put into Rugpack. That will be able to port over to operator controller once the Helm stuff gets in. I was going to try to do a demo for that for today, but I didn't have time to set that up beforehand because of holidays or like, yeah, the holidays and stuff. So
okay, maybe we can tee that up for next week.
Yeah.
Let's see. Nikolai, is this one done? The cluster extensions?
No, we need to bump Rugpack to get a fix in, and basically waiting for Helm integration to land, so we can bump Rugpack after that.
Got it. Okay. Let's see, is Varsha here? Let's see.
Yeah, for the Helm integration stuff, most of the conversations in the PR have been resolved. We are facing a few hiccups fixing up the unit tests, and hopefully once that's done, it should be good to go.
Awesome. And then I don't know, Taylor, if you've looked at the HTTPS stuff recently, or if we're just waiting again on the Helm stuff to land.
Yeah, I have a draft merge request that I got up on guess it would be Thursday. And I think that is yeah, if that's the catalog D part. There's an operator framework PR. I don't think I've linked it into the Epic yet. That I have like the overlays and stuff, or like an overlay set up. I know there's a few things I need to change on there, so I'm gonna still like tweaking on it a little bit. I think, yeah, that's it. There's some like failing tests that I need to work through and get some kind of eyeballs on that at some point as well.
This one I think is this trust manager thing. I've looked at this before,
Mhm.
and if I remember right, like it's somehow like you can't share it across namespaces or something, or you have to run it in the context of one namespace.
Yeah, you set, when you install it, you tell it the trust namespace. I think it runs it by default in like the CAD or cert manager namespace. But for our purposes here, we just need it to be moving, like inserting the cert into, what is it? Just into the operator controller. So it has the cert for communicating with catalog D.
Yeah.
So I have it working in this like current merge request where the TLS communication works. So I don't, do we need it to be like going across more than one namespace?
Well, the thing that I worry about there, and the reason I haven't, we ran into a similar thing with RuckPack,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason I never decided that I thought it was a good idea to put in there at least is because like other people might want to use cert manager or specifically trust manager and have it using something in a different directory. So like maybe they could install it multiple times or something. I don't know. My
Yeah.
thinking, at least at the time, was, and maybe things have changed, but it seemed like it would be too presumptuous of us to be like, yep, we're going to install Trust Manager and it's going to be in this place with, this namespace and share over here.
Okay.
So I don't know if things have changed to make that problem less worrisome and we can sort of have our own little instance of it. Maybe we even think that that would be not great for some reason. One of the things I've thought about for this particular problem is like, should we install catalog D and operator controller in the same namespace? Because then that would solve the problem too. So
Yeah,
maybe
that's
not
true.
something to discuss right now, but probably something to think about and maybe discuss either async or in a separate meeting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or like on this, potentially like as part of this like merge request work,
Yeah.
I can see like if it makes sense to change anything there. Because there's some major changes to the manifest structure because of adding an overlay and everything anyway.
The other thing we could do is like an initial foray is just to disable the CA trust for
Yeah,
now. Like that's not great. We should make that better, but it's no worse than plain text. So
true. Yeah, I mean, I guess just adding the features, but it would be nice if we have it. So like, as an example, when you just set this up, it is working.
yeah,
And like I was talking with Bryce a bit about trying to make this, work for downstream, and being able to like kind of like pull out cert manager and trust manager for the OpenShift equivalents. And so, um, like if we can get it set up so that like you can kind of see that in upstreams, like way that it's configured, that would be nice as well.
yeah, yeah. That part I think will be important. But and I think I pointed to this already, but luckily we already had rug packs set up that way, so it should be
Yeah.
fairly straightforward to mimic. Okay.
Yep. So that's where that works at right now. But
All right. Thanks. Let's see. And then I know like this work, Lance, Rankita, are you guys here? I know that this was sort of blocked on some of the Helm stuff as well, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah. What else? Do we have anything else in progress? I know we were starting to think about the service account stuff, but honestly, like, I don't know, Sid, if you've made any progress with anything here, but a lot of this I think is sort of dependent on the Helm stuff merging and then us building on top of that. see, is Sid here? I don't see him. So that's fine. I don't expect this to have much progress yet. What did I do? I think that's it. Anything else? Any other discussion topics that we want to discuss today?
Just wanted to bring up a question, taking us back to operator conditions a little bit, specifically around the CRD, the installation of the CRD into the cluster. Could we perhaps discuss how that is currently being done today, and maybe if that's something that we still want to do in OLM v1, how that will be handled, if at all any different?
Yes, so in V0, that's the only place it ever exists and the only controller that reads it. So in V0, we install it just like we install any of the other CRDs for subscription or install plan or catalog source. So in V0, that makes total sense. I can't envision us changing V0 to account for anything else that might be installing it, which obviously plays into some of the questions that I was raising about, well, what do we do about that CRD for V1 if we expect it to be there? If I remember right, we had some Slack discussion about it, and it seemed like the options were just expect OLM v1 or expect OLM v0 to be installed if we want that API. And maybe that means we have some logic in operator controller that would detect whether that API was present or not to decide if it was going to try to support it. So that's one option. Another option is that we somehow try to figure out how to have like an optional installation of the CRD based on whether it's already present. Maybe we try to just apply it as part of the install. That can be dangerous if there's version skew though, so that's something we would need to think about. But I think a lot of this is good. Like, I think we can talk about that sort of as an outcome of whatever we talk about tomorrow. I think one option on the table for OLM v1 operator conditions is we just don't do anything with it. Like, we might just say like, we're not going to do this feature at all. But there's some implications because that could potentially break some assumptions of operators that are in the existing catalogs. So I think we need to decide that question before we decide this question.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else that, I know we talked about this a little bit, was there anything else you wanted to specifically talk about?
Yeah, I generally the main thought was because the CRD or the definition or the generation of the CRD is happening in the operator framework / API repo and not inside the operator lifecycle manager repository. Or so from that perspective, I was just thinking that the install of the CRD into the cluster might be a little bit different, and so how do we handle it, if at all we are going to still support the CRD in OLM v1, basically?
Yeah. So I think a lot of that is sort of hinges on what we're going to talk about tomorrow, so we can get more into the details there. Thanks, Mikolai, for linking that Slack discussion. Okay. Anything else to talk about? All right. I think that'll do it then. Thanks for coming, everybody, and we'll see you next week. And if you and again, just to plug again, tomorrow we've got this meeting about operator conditions and what we'll do in V1. So if you're interested, definitely try to show up to that too. All right, thanks. See you, everybody.
Yeah.
You?